Hello, everybody. Welcome on back to Fantasy Football Futures. I'm Tyler. This is Tim.
How's it going?
And today we are going to give a week preview of Week 12 matchups for fantasy and just go over each game for this week. Yesterday, Thanksgiving, had 3 games go on with the Bears pulling out a win at the last second over the Lions, which was disappointing to see. Would love to see the Lions get that first win, then fire Matt Nagy. That would have been something to see. They won. Then you had the Cowboys losing at home to the Raiders without CeeDee Lamb and Amari again, and then banged up Zeke. The team just doesn't look right.
That defense did not look as good as they did at the beginning of the season. There's a couple holes in that defense.
What they were doing at the beginning of the year is not how it's going to continue. And then at the last game, we had the Bills just dominating the Saints. Saints just have no weapons for Trevor Siemian, and it's kind of...
It's showing. Yeah, they just can't do anything on offense.
You have your best receivers, Marquez Callaway, and he's not even a starter in probably most teams. So, yesterday matchups were interesting. Some players had good weeks. I know Dak had a solid performance. A lot of touchdowns were scored. Allen put up a big game. Diggs put up a big game. He's starting to look like himself again. I feel like they're starting to get in that rhythm that we saw last year where Diggs is just the reliable target. And then really outside of that, you like Waller, he got hurt. He was out of the game. Swift, he got hurt. He left the game as well. Those will be things to keep an eye out going on the rest of the way, and it's a real bummer it happens here in Week 12. Getting ready for a playoff push and everything. Yep. So
and Swift, I don't know about Waller yet, but Swift looked like it could be pretty. That shoulder
could be a broken collarbone, could be out a couple weeks. So if you're a Swift owner, you're hoping and praying that it's nothing big. Jamal Williams will be the guy to take over there if he is out for a while. But yeah, just a bad week in general for players to go down, and not only was it just like they're pretty significant players in each lineup. So something to keep an eye out there. But let's go ahead and jump into the Week 12 matchups. This will be part 1 of 2. We're just going to go over 6 games today. And then next episode will be 6 games as well. At the end of this episode, we're going to give college football picks, which is a big week for college football. Rivalry week. I have actually a lot of games I'm kind of looking forward to, so we'll keep an eye out for those. But let's go ahead and talk some matchups for this week and some players we like. Week 12 fantasy football. We're just regular season football. We have Steelers at the Bengals. This is kind of it's just a rematch from the beginning of the year. Bengals went into Heinz Field, beat them. But I feel like this is a different Steelers offense, and this has been a much different Bengals team than we saw in the first 5 weeks than where they are now. So you got the Steelers, who are 14th against quarterbacks, 20th against running backs. They give up a lot of points to receivers or defensively, and then tight ends are 11th against. And they're coming off a banged-up week. I know they're getting Minka Fitzpatrick back, which is huge, but outside of that,
TJ Watt
still got TJ Watt. You still got 4 other main guys who are going to be out this week. So I feel like this week is a great week to start Joe Mixon.
Yep, I think Joe Mixon and then the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Still not the biggest fan of Tyler Boyd yet, but I think starting all 3 of those guys, it should be really big games for those 3.
That's what I was saying. I agree. I think Higgins is still the number 2 there. I know Boyd had an okay performance last week. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't terrible.
He had 8 targets with 6 catches, so that's not bad.
So I think you're going to see a lot of Jamar Chase deep balls. I know the first time they matched up here, Jamar Chase went off. He caught a couple deep balls. I think you're going to see them try to take advantage of the deep shot again, which, I mean, that leads to Joe Burrow probably being a play if you have him. Just because of what you can get from him and Chase. It's just this offense does not look great at all. But Mixon has solidified himself as top 10 back this year. And when he's healthy, he isn't bad. It's just staying healthy. So
yeah, that's a big thing. And he stayed healthy. He had 30 carries last week, 2 touchdowns, over 120 yards. So against those bad defenses, he can put up a lot of points.
Yeah, and I think if this is a healthy Steelers team, you maybe look at maybe fading a little bit from Mixon if you could, but you're probably not going to. Same with Burrow. Like you could justify not playing him just because the Steelers D-line can get after quarterback at times. But I don't know. It's just It's going to be a tough matchup here. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think this is going to be a shootout. We saw Steelers came back last week and did without anybody, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. But for me, on the Steelers side of the ball, it's 100% Najee, not even a thought. But the one thing I'm worried about with Najee is it seems like they've taken the first 7 weeks we saw him heavily involved in the pass and run game, but they're starting to lean him off of both of that. And it's looking like he's more of just a run-focused guy to start, but I could just be they're just trying to take some hits off his body too.
That's what I'm guessing. He did have less carries last week. He only had 12, but then he also
did go out last week for a while.
So he also had 5 catches though. So they just couldn't do anything against the Chargers defense for a while. It was more of the passing game. I feel like that was a little bit more successful. So, and I think he's been taking a lot of hits. He's been on the field so much to where they might have to kind of slow that down a little bit.
And that's what. So I mean, he got hit pretty hard last week. He was out with. I thought he was not coming back in the game. He did that hit to the head, and it looked like he got knocked out.
He came back. He came back.
He came back in. You got the Bengals D, who they are 24th against running back, so that opens a lot with Najee this week as a huge play. But against wide receivers, they're a little bit better. They're top 10 against covering, giving up points against receivers. But I still think you look at the options you have in Pittsburgh, it's Deontay Johnson, number 1. He's not like he was at the beginning year where Big Ben was just thrown to him nonstop. But I think at any point in the game they need a big play or a first down or anything, they're looking at Deontay Johnson because he is the best route runner and he's their best receiver in my opinion.
Yeah, he's still getting a ton of targets. Actually, from week 6 to week 11, he had 13 targets in every game but week 9. So it's crazy, but it's also some of those catches aren't doing anything. Like he only has 1 touchdown in that whole span.
Yeah, I know. And last week he ran a great route and broke one over, and Big Ben dropped it in there for him. But I expect to see these numbers kind of continue, and I think you're going to see a lot more passes become more catchable. I know last week Big Ben didn't practice at all, and then they worked it, and he was fine. But I like him. Claypool this week, I feel like he is the best at them throwing the ball to him, going up and just not catching a football. Like it just to me, I feel like he drops a lot, and then you also got it. He's a big body, so you're gonna give him the ball. They like to do that end around sweep with him as well.
It didn't do anything last week.
No, so but Claypool he did get targeted a lot last week.
He had 9 targets, 5 catches for 93 yards.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you play both of them. Claypool, I think, is more of a flex play, where Johnson's more of a wide receiver 2 option. I like them both. Deontay Johnson, I think, can consistently be a top 10 if they just score some touchdowns with him. But he's always good for taking a slant 50 yards during one point.
He always has that ability.
So that, and then you got the Bengals who are 14th against tight ends. I think you're playing Freiermuth because of the touchdown option. And it's too much for him. So I like Freiermuth this week. But the other tight end, Uzama, I'm fading him this week with Minka Fitzpatrick being back.
Yep, I agree with that one. Yeah, Freiermuth has had 4 touchdowns at 4 games since the bye. So he's getting those red zone targets, being targeted a lot for a tight end. So Freiermuth the whole time until that decides to turn back around, but I'm starting Freiermuth this week and probably every other week.
I feel like Steelers have gone to Najee number 1 option in the red zone, Freiermuth 2, and then Johnson, Claypool 3, 4 kind of thing. So I expect this to be a close game. Do you think there's going to be a lot of points scored?
I think it is. I think that Pittsburgh, the Steelers' offense, they've had their struggles, but I think they've only scored under 20 points once this year.
They love to sling the football.
I think they're going to throw the ball around, and then I think the Bengals last week kind of found that edge after that after that break. So I think they're going to score some points. So I don't know what the over/under is, but I would think there'd be a lot of points scored in this. Yeah, a lot of high points for fantasy this week.
That's what I expect it to be. Very good. The first matchup was high points as well, but that's when we saw Uzama have a huge. Remember, he broke. Or that was against the Ravens.
That was against the Ravens. Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. You could play Uzama hoping for a big play from him, but I wouldn't rely on it heavily. So that's our first matchup. Let's go ahead and slide into matchup number 2. We got Bucks at Colts. Colts coming off a huge win last week against the Bills. Jonathan Taylor, big hyped around him. Now, I don't think he's going to put up the same type of numbers this week. I think the difference between the Bills and the Bucks is the Bucks are actually they're a top 5 run stop team, and they truly are that. Devin White's too good in the middle. Vita Vea plays; he's a monster in the middle. They just have a lot of people up front. That's tough to stop the run. You're not sitting Jonathan Taylor by any means. He's the best player on the Colts team, but it's just something to keep an eye out for. That you got to rely. You got to expect that he's not going to put up 50. And if he doesn't break 20, if he has like 60 yards rushing and a touchdown, I think that's a good week this week for Jonathan Taylor.
Yep, I agree. Jonathan Taylor's a must-start, number 1 running back in PPR. So I know that it's not a great matchup, but you've also seen a couple of running backs maybe run a little bit. Like Miles Sanders in that second half for the Eagles had some runs, and there's been a couple other running backs that have done it. So if anyone's going to do it, Jonathan Taylor's going to be the one that has a good game
and
against him.
Yeah, he's shown clear-cut number 1 there, and he's actually receiving the ball in the backfield too. So he's looked great. He's had 8 straight games with 100+ scrimmage yards. I know that tied with Damian Tomlinson. So I'm excited to see how they get him involved this week. But the Bucs defense, if you look at, they are 4th against running backs. But then you take a look; they're 12th against wide receivers and 21st against quarterbacks. I feel like this is a big bounce back week for Michael Pittman. We've seen the Bucs struggle over and over again stopping the pass. I know they've improved throughout the year, but I think this is a big week for Michael Pittman to bounce back. He put up 4 points last week, I think. So I'm starting Michael Pittman in flex or wide receiver 2 option here no matter what. And then I might even throw in Carson Wentz to just if I need it and I have a guy on bye. I think you slide in Carson Wentz because I know they have a great pass rush up front, but you built this offensive line in Indy to stop pass rush and to provide run support. So I think they're going to be able to move the ball a little bit more than most people have against the Bucs, which opens up play action pass for Carson Wentz to have a successful day. And I expect Mo Alley Cox to score 1 touchdown this game as they are 19th against tight ends. So those are my plays for the Colts this week.
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz might be a good play. He hasn't had 2 good fantasy games just because it's been all Jonathan Taylor. And I think Jonathan Taylor's not going to have that great of a game, so Carson Wentz is going to need to step up, and it's going to be more of a good fantasy play for him. We're going to be throwing the ball more. That's where I see Pittman come in. Maybe you might even see like a Hilton Pascal touchdown with the Mo Alley Cox as well. If they're going to have to score to keep up with the Bucs. So Carson Wentz is going to have to step up this game.
Because that's why you look at the other side of the ball. Colts defense, they're okay. They're based on the numbers. Actually, they're not good. But if you look at it, they're 30th against quarterbacks. They're actually 1st against running backs. But when you can throw the ball, you don't really need to run. 29th against receivers and 27th against tight ends. So they're looking at a matchup that's going to require the Colts to stop everybody. For the Bucs, I know you got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, who had big games last week. Gronk as well, being healthy, 2nd week back off that injury. And then just Tom Brady, of course, being Tom Brady. And I expect Leonard Fournette, I think they'll be able to run on the Colts. I know they're ranked number 1, but to me, I just feel like that's not true rankings like the Bills we saw last week. I expect, how many rush attempts did Fournette have last week?
10.
I expect that number to be higher, and them to develop the run a little bit more this week, and then spread the ball out again through Evans, Godwin, and Gronk. And I feel like Gronk, this is the type of week Gronk can put up 2 touchdowns, something crazy.
Yeah, I think all wide receivers in Gronk, you're starting. You need to. With Fournette, he hasn't been running the ball a whole lot, but he's been getting so many targets out of the backfield, so many screens,
they love
him. So I think Fournette, if he's not going to be successful in the running game, they're still going to use him in the passing game, and I think that's what's going to be Fournette's best play this week. So I expect them maybe to run the ball a little bit more just to kind of control the pace of play and then dump off screens to him and then those wide receivers and Gronk just having a great game. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game.
That's why I was thinking as well. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think this is probably going to be one of the better 12 o'clock games. This is what I'm looking forward to watching the most. I love everybody for the Buccaneers and the Colts, I think you can't go wrong playing Pittman, Taylor, or I think Alley, and like I said, Mo Alley Cox will be a sneaky play touchdown tight end guy, and then Carson Wentz. So this game is going to look good. That's our second matchup. Let's go third matchup here, Panthers at Dolphins. Panthers lost last week, football team. Dolphins beat Jets. Still gave up a lot of points. I think this is a game Panthers bounce back. I know they're only favored by 2.5, 3.5 points. But I like Panthers here. Dolphins defense has gotten better, but they still are 29th against quarterbacks, 30th against receivers, and then 20th against tight ends. And you're looking at running back really doesn't matter because you got McCaffrey back there. But I love Cam Newton this week, on the ground especially, and then DJ Moore as well to kind of continue. We saw him have a huge bounce back week last week.
Yeah, he finally scored that touchdown, had 7 targets. Didn't do much in the yards, but he also played 94% of the time. And I think for the Panthers to be successful, it has to go through DJ Moore when passing. But yeah, I love, like, you always start McCaffrey, but Cam Newton, you saw him have a rushing touchdown last week, throwing the ball a little bit, playing a bad Dolphins defense. It's a must start for me as well.
And that's why I think you look at it that way. It's just you got to play him. Robbie Anderson, I'm fading still. He didn't do anything last week. So really outside the Panthers, McCaffrey, Newton, TJ Moore, I'm probably not playing anybody else. You could play their defense. Dolphins-wise, across the board, Panthers are top 5 in defensively and stats and everything. They did give a couple points to tight ends, but for me, Dolphins-wise, you're going to play your Waddle in a flex position.
You play
Gesicki and tight end. But to me, that's really all I'm touching this week. I don't like Tua against this team. I don't like Miles Sanders this week.
Gaskin.
Yeah, wow. Myles Gaskin, they are finally getting him the ball to be the number 1, but to me it's just...
And they just signed Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah, so this is going to be a heavy... it's going to be a heavy day for the Panthers. I think they're going to own this game, and you're going to see the Dolphins struggle a little bit. I know they've gotten better, but Cam Newton, I think, will have a solid day running the football, and DJ Moore will have another big performance.
Yeah,
so.
There's not much to say about this matchup. You have your 2 guys on the Dolphins, but yeah, I'm staying away from the running backs. Tua didn't look great last week against the Jets. He did throw 27 or 33, 2 touchdowns, but I don't think he's going to do that against the Jets defense, so I think it's not going to be that great. So yeah, Waddle, Gesicki, and then on the Panther side, Newton, McCaffrey, Moore.
Yeah. I guess Robbie, you could play in, hopefully that maybe he does something, but last week, did he have many targets?
He had 6 targets, just 5 catches, 6
they
targets.
They didn't throw a lot either, so I mean, we'll see how it goes there with that, but that's our matchup number 3. Let's go to the 4th matchup this week. Titans at the Patriots. This game is going to be weird. You got the Titans who are possibly without Julio, Henry, and then A.J. Brown is still questionable. Did not practice Thursday or Wednesday with his chest injury. Something to keep an eye out for if he plays or not. If he does play, you're going to play him because he's the best option that they have. But really, outside of that, I'm not loving Deontay Foreman. I'm not loving the Hollins guy that they have. And then Tannehill, even this week, I'm not super high on. Especially if Brown's not playing, I'm not touching anybody from the Titans.
To be honest, besides Brown, even this whole game, like on the Patriots side, it's still a lot of question marks.
Yeah.
I'm playing A.J. Brown if he plays. I'm not touching the Tennessee running backs. Patriots defense has been lights out, so I'm not playing Tannehill as well. And then on the Patriots side, Stevenson's actually projected more than Damon Harris this week.
Stevenson has looked a lot better running the football the last 2 weeks.
So he's your maybe, but then you just never know about we always talk about that.
You don't know who's going to be the guy this week. Damon Harris could have the hot hand, and then you play Ramondre, and you're like, well, okay. Or you play Damian Harris, and then he could be on the outside looking in at Ramondre. And then to me, it's like Jacoby Myers, he's an option. Just because the Titans' defense against quarterbacks is 27th and they're 31st against wide receivers in giving up points. So they're second to last in the league giving up points to wide receivers. So I think Jacoby Myers could be a play because of what he's doing. But I mean, you can make the same argument for Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, I'm saying you can't really rely on Myers. He always has up and down games. He only has that 1 touchdown too. So
and Aguilar's the one who they find in the end zone as well.
They really do, yep.
So to me, it's if you're going to play, I think you flex. If you're going to play a Patriot receiver, you flex Aguilar or Myers there. You just know when you're playing Jacoby Myers, he's probably not scoring a touchdown most of the time.
You need those like 9-10 catch games to have a good
120 yards. Yeah, Hunter Henry I think is a must start. He's a touchdown machine for them. They always look for him in the red zone. You're starting him I think at tight end position because of the ceiling with touchdowns with him. Really outside this game, I'm not touching much else. Nope. It's just Mac Jones you could play. But I feel like this is going to try to be a Bill Belichick. We're going to run the ball, make you stop us kind of thing, and then go out to pass with that. With Mike Vrabel being former player and coach, so
I can see this being a very low scoring game.
That's why I was thinking like a 20. If AJ Brown plays like a 2014 type of game, something weird like that. So this game, I think, like I said, it's gonna be very boring, very low scoring. Titans wise, you're looking at AJ Brown. If not him, nobody. Patriots wise, you can flex Aguilar and Myers, but really, and then the running back situation is kind of picking. You hope that's the one that turns out, and then Mac Jones could be a nice play this week.
Well, yeah, Mac Jones doesn't do much at quarterback. He does the right plays, but that's about it.
Yeah, he's great quarterback he's a good quarterback in real life. Fantasy quarterback's not what you love. It's polar opposite of our next matchup here with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles versus the Giants. This game, I don't know how to look at this game. Eagles are rolling as of late. They've played a lot better. Miles Sanders came back last week. I think that only helps out the Eagles' run offense, is what they're doing. And they're going to a Giants team who is below average against everybody. They give up, they're 19th in points to quarterbacks. They give up a lot of points to tight ends, wide receivers, and then they're 24th against running backs. So if I'm an Eagles, if I have a Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, I'm starting all of them this week.
I think you play the top guys at each position: Hurts, Sanders, Smith, Goddard. But there's no one else that I would feel comfortable with having to play.
No.
So I think those top guys, I think you start them all.
100%. And that's what, for the Eagles wise especially, it's Hurts has been putting up unreal numbers in fantasy, and then you have who else is there? Sanders, I think, like you said, he came on a little bit more last week against the Bucs in the second half, getting his legs back under him, and I think they're going to be able to move the ball around pretty easily here. Giants side of the ball, you got the Eagles, who they give up a lot of points, quarterbacks, running backs, and tight ends, but against wide receivers, they're third best at not giving up a lot of points. Giants-wise, you're going to start Barkley if he plays. He played last week. He looked better, and it's just a tough matchup against the Bucs.
And he's coming off an injury, too. You weren't going to do a whole lot. He did have 6 targets for 6 catches out of the backfield, so that looks promising with his first game back.
I think you're going to see more involvement in the run game against this Eagles defense, who gives up 22nd worst against running backs. So I think you're going to see him involved more in the run and then the pass game as well. So I like him he's a play this week if you got him. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, don't really care for him too much as a play. Really outside of that, I don't like any of the wide receiver options for the Giants. I know you can play Tony in hopes that he does something, but I know he got hurt again last week.
He had 12 targets, but he always gets hurt. But you also have to think about Jason Garrett's gone, so it's going to be a different offense. You might see them try to pass the ball a little bit more, but he also was not practicing on Thursday. So if Terrence Tony isn't playing, then I'm not playing any Giants
I don't
wide
like Kenny Galladay. I do not like. I know Slayton was out there. He got a lot of targets last week. Shepard, who is a question mark every week. You never know what's going to happen. So this game, I think, should be very boring. It's going to be. I feel like there might be a lot of points scored, but you won't realize it till after. It's like, how's this game 24-18 or something? So, like I said, Giants wise, you're looking at pretty much Barkley and Barkley's it.
Yep.
Do you play Ingram here with the Eagles being the worst team against tight ends?
To be honest, no. I know it's a great matchup, but I've seen Ingram have great matchups and just not do anything.
Do nothing. Yeah, Ingram is like the tight end each week. You're like, man, I could pick up an Ingram, and then you're just like, but Evan Ingram doesn't do anything.
Yep.
But you never know with, like you said, with
With the
Garrett
new
being out.
with the new offense, it's going to be hard to tell. But you just got to give it a week to see
And that's
exactly
why
what
I think
happens.
you get a new OC in there, they're going to rely heavily on their all-star running back. And so that's what you got to look forward to there. Let's go then to our last matchup for this episode. We have Falcons and Jaguars. Falcons are going to the Jags. You got the Falcons defense who give up the 31st worst points to quarterbacks, 27th worst points to running backs, 22nd worst points to wide receivers, and then tight end wise, you're looking at 13th middle of the road. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he's still a rookie. This year, I'm kind of leaving him out, letting him go. I'm not going to start him. James Robinson, clear cut, must start every week. He proves it each week in and out that he's doing that. And then I think wide receiver wise, if you want a really stretch flex play, Shenault and Jones will be a flex play this week for you because of the Falcons aren't great against the pass, and this might be a game they throw the ball around a lot.
I think, like you said, Robinson must play. I think even Dan Arnold, how many targets? I know last week was a big dud.
Yeah,
but he didn't have any targets. But before then, he was getting 7-8 targets a game. I still think you got to go back to him. I know you had one bad game, you go back to him. But yeah, then Jones, Shenault, I think they can be good deep flex plays. But you have the Robinson and then have Arnold.
I feel like Arnold last week, that was a weird game. Jags looked weird.
Yeah.
But the one thing you got to worry about is O'Shaughnessy's coming back, who's the other tight end, so maybe that peeks into some of it. So something to keep an eye out for there. Falcons wise, Jaguars, they're middle of the road against everybody. 23rd against tight end, so Kyle Pitts, I think, is due for a solid week this week. But you're looking at Matt Ryan, who just has no weapons. I'm not touching Mike Davis. I'm not playing. Russell Gage is an option you could throw out there.
Honestly, I'm not even.
He doesn't do a lot. And has Cordero practiced or anything this week?
He participated today, Friday. He's participating in practice, but it's still questionable. So if he plays, I'm just playing Patterson and Pitts on the Falcons. I'm not touching Russell Gage. It's been too up and down. You would think he would step up with Calvin Ridley gone, but he really hasn't.
Yeah, so, I mean, the Falcons team we've seen the last 3 weeks have terrible games. So I'm not touching anybody for either side. Matt Ryan, we were high on him 1 week, and then he disappointed us very much. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Outside of these two teams, you're not really touching anybody. Kyle Pitts, James Robinson, I think, are the must-starts. And outside of that, you can play some deep flex play options if you have to, and Gage or Jones and Shenault, but I'm not really touching anybody else there. So that's our matchup preview for part 1 here. Let's go ahead and dive into some college football picks. Like we said, it's rivalry weekend this week. There's some great games to keep an eye out for. I have 4 on my card this week. How many do you have?
I have 2 right now.
Okay, so I'll start here. All right. The first one I'm going to take a look at is Florida State going into Florida at the Swamp. I like Florida minus 2.5. I just feel like Florida State is a team that has been... They've been up and down all year. They lose games they shouldn't, and they stay in games when they can't. But I think Florida is going to be too much at minus 2.5 this week, especially playing at home, rivalry week, finish off the season. And Florida's coming off of firing Dan Mullins as head coach, which is great. So maybe they'll be up a little bit more, I think. So I like Florida here minus 2.5 this week.
Yeah, I like that too, especially when a team fires their coach, the interim coach, for some reason. They always play a little bit better. So I do like the Florida pick. Florida State, we bet on Notre Dame at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And then Notre Dame didn't cover, but then we watched Florida State just be a bad team the rest of the year. That was tough to see. So, yeah, I do like Florida minus 2. I think they come back after losing Mizzou, fire their coach. So I like that win or like that bet. You can go do yours.
Okay. My next one here, I got Ohio State minus 8.5 against a team up north. Rivalry week, I think. Going into Michigan, people think this game's going to be much closer than what it is. And I think it'll be closer, but I think Ohio State has too much firepower this year. Stroud's looking like a number 1 pick. Henderson is a stud freshman running back. He got Wilson and Olave on the outside taking over. So I just feel like it's going to be too much in different places for the Wolverines to just stop. So I like Ohio State here, -8.5. I know a lot of people think I don't understand going into the big house, 110,000 plus people are going to be there. This is a playoff game. Whoever wins goes Big Ten championship, and then if they win the Big Ten, they're going into the playoffs. So this is a big game. I just think there's too much for Ohio State this year.
Yep, this was actually one of my bets. I'm actually going to Ohio State too. I really like.
I feel like everybody's on Michigan.
Yeah, I think everyone's always going to be a close game. It's at Michigan. I understand both are really good teams, but I think Ohio State separated themselves last week because everyone thought that, this is going to be a close game. It was not even close.
No.
And so Michigan State beat Michigan, but for some reason Ohio State Michigan's a smaller spread. I know it's going to be more of a rival game.
It's just
but
a rivalry
still,
game. People get up there.
I think people are going to be worried about that, but I think at the end Ohio State wins actually by a good amount.
That's what I think. They just have too much firepower here. So love Ohio State. And then my next game here I have is LSU plus 6.5 versus Texas A&M. Actually, it's Texas A&M at LSU. I love this game solely because this is Coach O's last game at home in Louisiana. I feel like everybody's going to be there. Everybody's getting up. This is a game LSU comes and covers 6.5 points.
Yeah, I think I'll probably be betting this game also. I'll take LSU. Just people are just going to be celebrating Coach O bringing that national championship to LSU, one of the best teams to ever play college football, I would say, with Joe Burrow leading them. And this is just the SEC. You have 1-2 bad seasons, you're out. You can win a national championship. It's more about what you've done for me lately.
He just got distracted by the
women.
Pussy.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, I don't know. I like this game. I feel like A&M, they're good, but they've had some shaky games as well. I just feel like too much is going into LSU to not cover at least. I don't know if they'll win, but to cover is what I think. I think it'll be a close game because of the fact that Coach O's gonna do something. He's gonna smash a watermelon. He's gonna do something crazy in the locker room before. So I like them to cover. My last one here then is Notre Dame versus Stanford. It's at Stanford. I'm taking Stanford plus 20.5. I feel like this is a game. It's always close. Stanford is. We've seen them beat. They beat or who did they beat? Was it Oregon? No.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, it was a top 25 team. I forgot who it was. I'll look back at it. But I just think Notre Dame's overrated. It's all can be. They've always been. They always will be. But I like Stanford here plus 20.5 at home against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm never betting with Notre Dame, so I'd like the Stanford. I don't know much about Stanford. Yeah, I just know Notre Dame's trying to win out because there's always still that little talk that they can make the playoffs.
They're terrible.
But I just don't think they're that good, so I think that's too many points for me. My last one for right now, I'm actually going Boston College plus 5.5 against Wake Forest. Wake Forest coming off 2 losses. They're kind of got exposed a little bit. Going to be at Boston College. This is more of a Boston College isn't that great. They're only 6-5, but they're only getting plus 5.5. And so I think this is going to be a very close game. It's at Boston College too. So Wake Forest last 2 games, especially against Clemson, I was riding them. They look terrible. Clemson really blew them out, and so I think they got exposed. Boston College is just going to have a good game. It's going to be, I don't know if they're going to win, but I think it's going to be a field goal game for sure.
Yeah, so I like that. I just feel like this is going to be a close game. That one, I don't know. Wake Forest is a weird team. Started off great. Now they're just
it's kind of
all mojo's gone. But yeah, I feel like this will be some great games tomorrow.
I think so
like
too.
To watch them. The one thing I hate is that Florida State, Ohio State, Michigan, they're all at 11 a.m. But no better way than starting your day.
I hate
off
Ohio
at
State,
11.
Michigan at 11 a.m. That makes no sense.
I'm ready for it. So those are our college football picks. Hopefully we can go out the end of the season here before conference championships and bowl season on high note. I feel like we're both positive in college football. If not, right around that 500 mark, which is much better than what we could say about it.
NFL, 100%.
So, especially me, it's just been the worst. So that is here our part 1 matchup preview, and then our college football picks. We'll catch you on the next episode. We're going to go over the next 6 games, and then we give our must-starts, and then we'll do our preview show as well for our Pick 'em All show. So make sure you tune into that. But other than that, we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for all the support. Deuces.
See ya.